Super Bowl 55 is here, and so is episode 70 of the Press Box Podcast. And this episode will be our Super Bowl preview episode. We'll break down the Chiefs versus Buccaneers. We'll talk about offenses, defenses, special teams, coaches, everything you want to know before the game, as well as the big Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes matchup. So we'll get that going. And then at the end, we'll talk a little bit about the big trade that happened in the NFL, Matt Stafford going to the Rams, and Jared Goff coming back to the Lions. But before we get this episode started, as always, on Twitter at PressBox Podcast, make sure you follow us. We're getting a lot of new listeners, so if you enjoyed the podcast, follow us on Twitter as well. And if you also enjoy the podcast, make sure to subscribe on iTunes and throw out a rating while you're there. Comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff as we keep trying to bring you more episodes more consistently and grow the podcast. Without further ado, let's get into our Super Bowl preview episode of the PressBox Podcast.
Okay, welcome back to the Press Box Podcast. Hi, I'm your co-host, Ralph Miranda. I'll be joined by my other co-host, Joseph Miranda, and our producer, Nathan Miranda, shortly. It's time now for episode number 70 of the Press Box Podcast. Of course, that is the Sam Huff episode. Sam Huff, the great Hall of Fame linebacker for the New York Giants back in the 50s, who had some tremendous battles with Jim Brown of the Cleveland Browns. So episode number 70, the Sam Huff episode. Today, we are going to have our Super Bowl preview podcast edition. We're going to discuss the upcoming game with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then we're going to get into some off-season, which is really not the off-season yet, but some trades that have gone down in the NFL that really won't be official till the new league year starts in March, but nonetheless, the trades have been executed. So, Joseph, I'll toss it to you and get you started as we talk about the Super Bowl coming up, Super Bowl 55, the double nickel Super Bowl.
Yeah, so first thing that stands out, and we've talked about this before, it's in Tampa. Buccaneers are in it. So first team to have home field advantage. We talked a little bit about that last episode. Different year at the Super Bowl this year because of COVID, so not quite the same there. I think you said today there's going to be, 25,000 people?
The NFL just released that 25,000 fans, yes.
Yes, seems like more than...
Probably more than been in any game this year.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's good.
Similar to Super Bowl I. Does anyone...
Actually, yeah.
Actually, they played the Coliseum. Even if it wasn't full, it probably had more than 25,000 fans.
I don't know, actually. That's a good question. Well, looking at the matchups here, first of all, look at some stats. Okay, you got the Chiefs at 14-2. Bucs are 11-5. Okay. A little bit of that 11-5, and we've talked about this too, is, Brady arriving, new team, no offseason activities really. So this first, maybe even the first month here, they're still kind of getting their feet under him. I think the team as it's playing now doesn't lose that Bears game. They probably don't lose. Maybe the Saints week 1, I don't know, but there's another game in there I think they lost that I can't.
They should.
I can't think of right now. Yeah. Right now, but so starting with the Chiefs here, their offense. League ranking their offense. Okay, they were first in yards, but 6 in points for. It's a little bit surprising.
Yeah, it really is. It is a little surprising.
Yeah, go ahead. I just thought they'd be higher than 6 in points for.
That is a little surprising. You would have thought that they would have been almost 1 or 2 in points, but they were 6th, which is still pretty high. But
I don't have the top 5 in front of me.
But then again, as you watch the Chiefs, they're a very high risk, high reward offense, right? I mean, they fling it around quite a bit. They run receivers all over the place. They run those little shovel passes to Kelsey when they need to. I mean, so they're a high risk offense where if they're really clicking, they're going to put 35 or 40 up on you. If they're not, they could be around 20, 21, 24. So maybe it's not as surprising as it looks on first glance.
Right. And then, compare that with the Buccaneers offense in the rankings. Points for is 3rd and yards 7th.
Right.
So, little bit flipped there. I guess more points than yards, whereas the Chiefs, strong point is yards as opposed to points. The Buccaneers, I would say their offense is not, like you said, not as risk reward as the Chiefs. Not as relying on the big play. Like Chiefs can at any time throw a 70-yard touchdown to Hill or something like that.
Right.
But I think that we'll get into the position breakdowns a little bit here. But I think he's got more weapons on the whole to go to than Mahomes. Whereas I think he heavily relies on Hill and Kelsey.
Right.
Brady, Evans, Godwin, Antonio Brown when he's healthy in there, Gronk, and then not just Gronk, but Drake. Yeah. He seems to be throwing to him just as much as he does Gronk. So I think overall, offensively, Brady has more weapons, and then when you combine that with, his Super Bowl experience, this is his 10th Super Bowl. Just offensively, I kind of give the edge to the Buccaneers just because of those reasons, and that I think it's the Chiefs have a higher upside, but the Buccaneers have a very high upside, but also less of a risk, if you want to call it that.
Right. Nathan, if you wouldn't mind looking up for us while I make a few comments, I'd like to see what the Chiefs and Buccaneers red zone efficiency is, their offensive red zone efficiency. I think that'll tell us a little bit why there's the discrepancy in the points for. But yeah, I don't disagree with your analysis. I think the only thing I would add is I think the Chiefs have a little bit they have that Super Bowl experience from last year, so that's going to help them somewhat. Yeah. Okay, if this was last year, I'd say, boy, it's going to be tough. But they were there last year. They had to come from behind to win. They did it. Again, I'm going to say what I've been saying all season long when we've talked about the Chiefs. Their defense concerns me. Their defense does concern me. It concerned me last week against the Bills. It concerned me against the Browns. It's going to concern me in the Super Bowl because they're playing against Tom Brady. And, like Tom Brady said, there's not a defense or a blitz that he hasn't seen in 22 years of playing football. So it's going to be hard to confuse him. It's going to be hard to shut him down. I think what they're going to have to do is, you can't really blitz him. I mean, that's been proven. So they're going to have to do what the Giants did in the 2 Super Bowls. Have to figure out a way to get pressure on him with their front four, and then just play really solid coverage in behind that, and then they'll have the chance to maybe slow him down some. Because the Chiefs, the Buccaneers' defense is pretty good. Yeah. Now, they've had some injuries in the secondary. I'm sure those guys are back. I'm not sure if they're going to be 100%, but the Chiefs are going to score their points. It's just a matter of, can they score more than the Buccaneers score? Yeah,
I think that's a good point you made too, whereas you talk about Super Bowl experience and being comfortable in that game. Most people think, well, Brady, but if you take Brady and even Gronk, because he has experience too, away from the picture, Chiefs' whole team pretty much has experience, right? Where you got a lot of guys in the Buccaneers who don't have Super Bowl experience, right?
Right.
Just Brady can't transfer all that experience to the guys on the team. Whereas, like you said, the Chiefs, a lot of guys. And then I also think, looking at the coaching matchups, I think you got to give the edge to Andy Reid.
Oh yeah.
He was just there last year. She's got the monkey off his back, as the term goes. He's got that weight off his shoulders, and I think he's just a better coach than Arians. Like Arians strikes me as the kind of guy that, let's face it, Brady fell into his lap, right? I mean,
right. Basically, Bruce Arians, when Brady got there, he gave him the keys to the Ferrari and said, "Here, just don't wreck it."
No, yeah, he's a good coach. Like I think he was the Steelers' offensive coordinator with Roethlisberger coming up, and
they went to the Super Bowl with him.
Yeah, and the Cardinals, Carson Palmer. So he's been around, obviously, but I give the edge there.
Do you have the fishing?
Yeah. All right. So according to TeamRankings.com, it's the best I could find quickly. This is NFL team red zone scoring percentage, touchdown only.
Okay, that's fine. That's what I want.
All right. So this is for 2020. Green Bay was number 1, 76.81%. Kansas City was 12, 61.43. Tampa Bay was higher, 11.
Okay.
64.86.
Okay, that's interesting. The Chiefs being 12th would tell me that's why they're a little lower on the points, because they're not getting the ball in the end zone as much. But the Buccaneers aren't much better, so that's interesting. But I just thought I wanted to see those stats. But anyway, thank you for finding that for us, Nathan. And going back to what you said about Arians and Super Bowl experience, I think this is the one year where the Buccaneers players, aside from Brady and Gronk not having played a Super Bowl, won't hurt them. And the reason I say that is because you don't have a real Super Bowl week this week, right?
Right.
I mean, you don't have a lot of media down there. You don't have the media. The media day was done last night digitally or virtually. So it's really just a regular week of practice for these guys, right? I mean, nobody's around. There might be a few extra media guys, but they're in their home digs. They're practicing at their home spot. They're going home and sleeping in their own beds, which they would have done anyway.
Yeah.
But there's not as much media hype. There's not as much going on which would distract them. So that's going to actually benefit them. But it's also going to benefit the Chiefs, all right? Because the Chiefs didn't have to fly down to Tampa, spend a week in a hotel, go through all the media. They're home doing the same things. So I think two things. One, I think it's not going to affect either team, all right, and probably help the Buccaneers. And two, I think we're going to have a really good Super Bowl because this is just like a regular game, right? I mean, it's not like neither team is out of their routine, if you get what I'm saying. So I think it's going to be a really good game.
Right. Usually, like typical Super Bowl, a lot of times the first quarter or sometimes during the first half, a lot of feeling out and some punts and nothing major happens. Like you said, a little bit of that Super Bowl nerves type of thing going on, which may not be there this year.
Yeah,
and these teams played each other this year too, didn't they?
They did.
They did,
yeah.
It's easier to escape it too. Even if I don't know if they are, but even if they are doing the same amount of interviews and stuff, it's easier to kind of flip the switch off and escape. Like once you're done, you're done. It's virtual, so you just leave and then you don't have to kind of, like you said, be constantly around it.
Right.
But how did they? I meant to ask you, how did they do that media day? I didn't say anything about that. Was it?
I saw a couple clips that they wore their little things that they would have worn, their little white jackets or whatever they were with their numbers and logos on them, but they were just in front of a Zoom camera individually.
So people, did they have the same amount of access to just like any outlet who wanted, like they typically do, or just like the top?
That I don't know.
Media
it sounded like it was probably just the top ones that were given the access to it. Yeah.
So you weren't getting as many questions.
Crazy questions. It was all football questions, pretty much. Yeah, yeah. It wasn't like what's your favorite, strawberry. What's your favorite pie, or
like ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't.
I was wondering if they were going to give like the credentials to.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess they could have, but
it didn't seem like they did.
It didn't seem like they did. Yeah, but
did it last as long? Do you know? Like,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
They still have. Were just the stars of this? I mean, do they still have like multiple players in each team having to answer questions like they typically would have, like 4 or 5?
I don't know the answer to that. Probably just the key players, because you didn't have that arena where everybody could walk around. And,
that's true. Yeah. So even the guys who would sit in the stands didn't have to probably even
didn't have to even show up. Yeah, right. Which is better for them, right? Yeah.
Interesting.
We talked about some of the offensive ranks here. Let's take a look at the defensive ranks. Chiefs, okay, so league rank points for or
against,
10th, and then yards allowed 16th. Buccaneers 8th in points against, and then yards 6th. So
better defense.
Yeah. I mean, the numbers show it, and I think just by watching them, you get that takeaway too. I think that for the Buccaneers, you have to go into this game and say, look, we're going to do everything we can to take Kelsey away.
Right.
Like, I think we've talked about this before, but I'd take my chances a little more with Hill, and he can hurt you, definitely.
Yeah.
But if you can hold Kelsey to like 4 or 5 catches, I'm not saying it's hard to do probably, but just make that your goal. Like, make him beat you some other way. Make him throw to Pringle and Hill and Hardman. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you have to do.
I can see the Chiefs. I can see the Chiefs losing the game and Hill having 4 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown, and the Chiefs still losing.
Yeah, I can.
I can't see the Chiefs winning with Hill having or with Kelsey having less than 5 catches or 4 catches.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does make sense. And,
like if I give you stat line of Kelsey, 4 catches, 60 yards.
Yeah.
I don't think the Chiefs win that game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. But remember what they're going to do with Kelsey. They're not going to put him on the line of scrimmage. They're going to put him in the slot. They're going to put him, out of the backfield, which makes it more difficult for a defense to disrupt his route, okay? Now, they can double team him, all right, which they probably will. But you can't double team him and him and Hill. If you do, then one of those other guys, Pringle, Hardman, whoever, could have a really big game, all right? So you got to choose the way you want to do this. And I think you're right. I think Kelsey's the guy you got to take out of the game. Remember, the Browns didn't do that. The Bills didn't do that, all right? He destroyed them, okay? So you have to figure out, your poison. I think on the other side of the ball, I think the Buccaneers are going to run the football, all right? And the reason I say that is like you look at what the Chiefs are the only real game the Chiefs lost. I don't count that loss to the Chargers in Week 17 because it didn't really matter. They would have won that game if they had to. The only game they lost was to the Raiders, and the Raiders were a physical football team. I think if you can push the Chiefs defense around, all right, on the line of scrimmage, you can really tire them out and you can really make some hay. And I think that's what the Buccaneers are going to do, and then take their shots down the field off of play action. So that's going to be an interesting setup to watch. Is how much they stick to the running game, because the Browns had a lot of success running the ball against them with Chubb and with Kareem Hunt, and the Buccaneers have two really good running backs.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we can start looking at some of these position breakdowns right there. And you said the Bucs have the advantage of running back, right?
No question. They had Hilaire, the Chiefs, but that's all I got.
And Le'Veon Bell's a shell of his former self.
Yeah,
Let's face it. I mean, Fournette's been playing well lately, and then like you said,
Lee. No, was it Lee or Jones? Ronald Jones.
Jones. I can think of his name. Jones. He's been playing well all season. Fournette's come on as of late, but yeah, give the advantage there to the Chiefs. Quarterback, Buccaneers in the Super Bowl, right?
In the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, look, Mahomes is 25 years old. He's a better player right now, just based on that. Probably he's got more skills, all that. But in the Super Bowl, you got to give that to Brady.
Yeah, it's all that stuff that you can't really measure. That is why you'd give to Brady. I mean, like the type of stuff that you see in, the stuff you can't really.
Well, and here's another thing. We talked about taking Kelsey out of the game if you're the Buccaneers. If Mahomes decides, he can hurt you with his legs too.
Yeah.
I mean, so you got to be careful how you play.
But
how you play that,
If he starts running around a lot, though, he's taking a lot more hits.
And
I would tell the Bucs, if I was the defensive coordinator, I would tell the Bucs if that's their game plan and they think it could lead to him scrambling more, I'd tell them hit him as much as you can, as often as you can when he's scrambling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I did see there was a prop bet, Brady plus or over under 1.5 yards rushing.
He'll do at least two QB
total?
sneaks.
Total, yeah.
He'll do a couple QB sneaks. That'll get more than that, but. I would also. Well, we're talking about running backs, I guess. But I was going to say I would also tell them to get as many hits as they can on each quarterback.
Yes.
But nowadays that's a little dangerous because they'll be. I think they would be less inclined to throw roughing the passer penalties in the Super Bowl, but
probably.
I still feel like that could be a dangerous thing to try to get a lot.
Well, it depends on where you're at.
Get them on the ground a lot. It could be dangerous.
If you're the Chiefs, right, and the Buccaneers say it's first and 10 on. The Buccaneers have the ball on your 12-yard line, right? First and 10. Take a shot at him.
It
depends on the situation.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, here's another thing I want to bring out, which I just thought about. Look, I want you guys. We'll all look at this in the game. You mentioned Le'Veon Bell, a former shell of himself, and he is, but he's never been to a Super Bowl either, and I think he's going to play above himself in this game. What made Le'Veon Bell so dangerous when he was with the Steelers? His ability to not only run, catch the ball out of the backfield. Okay, so look for the Chiefs to use if the Buccaneers show that they're going to start taking Kelsey out of the game, look for them to put Le'Veon Bell out, split him out wide, put him in the slot. He could become the next guy to really hurt them in the passing game. So the Chiefs do have some ways they can attack the Buccaneers. So it's going to be really an interesting chess game to see how it plays out.
I don't know if I totally agree with your comment, Josh, that you think that Tom Brady has more weapons. I know what you mean, but
he has more
maybe proven weapons to this point. I think Mahomes may have more potential weapons. That we have to see if they utilize them in ways they haven't yet up to this point.
Yes,
that's okay. My next point is wide receivers / tight ends. I say it's almost a tie then. Because I think Hill and Kelsey are better than any two that the Buccaneers have.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay,
across the board.
Overall, Brait, Godwin, Evans.
I agree with that.
Antonio Brown.
So I guess then maybe you, like I said, maybe you are right. Maybe they do have more weapons. They don't have.
It's a toss-up.
Their best weapons aren't as good as the Chiefs' best weapons.
Right.
But maybe they have more of them.
Right.
Is what's his name going to play? The Antonio Brown?
Yes. As far as I know, he is.
I think that could be somebody. I think that could be pretty big.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, Antonio Brown. He's kind of like the Le'Veon Bell factor. I mean, he has the ability.
Yeah, there's sometimes, like you said, there's these guys in the Super Bowl who maybe they're kind of the defense sleeps on for whatever reason, or they haven't done much all year, and then they really utilize them in new ways, innovative ways, and they go off.
Right.
And like you said, guys are always kind of ready to go above and beyond what they usually do at the Call of Duty in the Super Bowl.
Latest says he's trending in the right direction.
He says that?
I mean, that's the latest headline on Tony Brown. So.
He's trending in the right direction. That's good.
Offensive line, I know the Chiefs...
they lost one of their guys.
Yeah, their left tackle, Fisher.
Yeah.
He's out, right?
He's out, yeah.
He was the number 1 overall pick at one time.
He was, yeah. He was.
I think he was.
He's the left tackle?
Yeah.
That's big.
That's very big, yeah.
It's the worst guy you could lose, maybe other than the center, maybe.
That's right, yeah.
Speaking of centers, the Buccaneers, I don't know if this is a recurring thing or... The guy, that center had a couple bad snaps, didn't he?
He did,
against the Packers, at least one.
Was that the game Aikman said that you can rely on him for like 1 or 2 bad snaps?
Yeah. That's what I'm basing off of, I guess. I didn't watch him all year, obviously, but Aikman was saying you could rely on him for like 1 or 2 bad snaps a game, so I don't know if that's accurate or if that's just Aikman's opinion.
If it is accurate, it's not very good,
Yeah.
Especially when those would come, that's right.
No,
I think the offensive line is probably, I don't know. I mean, I guess you got to give it to the Buccaneers only because they have to protect better than the Chiefs.
It's more
do.
important. Yeah, it's more important for them.
And they have all the guys all the starters, right? The Chiefs are missing one guy. So.
Chiefs are missing a very important guy. That's exactly right. Yeah.
I mean, we talked a little bit about defensively giving the edge to the Buccaneers. Do you see any group that you give the Chiefs the edge with? D-line, linebackers, DBs? I'm not sure.
I don't really see any.
I don't know if I can name 2 players in the Chiefs defense, to be honest.
Well, you got that Sorensen guy, the strong safety.
Which I'm saying, I would recognize their names. I don't know if I can name them all the time.
Yeah, you got the Honey Badger.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
again, I think
outside of that, I can't name many others. That's right.
I would recognize some of these guys, but I don't think I can just name them off the top of my head.
So if anything, maybe the DBs, the Chiefs, the best in those 2 guys, but Buccaneers, Jason Pierre-Paul, Dominican Sue still can make things happen.
Yeah, they have a better D-line.
And you got
Jason Pierre-Paul.
Yeah.
That's what you said.
You said that already? Okay.
Devontae David.
Right.
That other linebacker.
Number 45. His name escapes me right now.
Brown, is it? No.
I can't think of his name now.
He seems like he's pretty good. I don't know.
Probably because he wears 45.
Should be doing that.
What did this is probably going to be a stupid question, but did the Chiefs still have that pass rusher that was supposed to be really great like a couple years back? It's like number 50.
They don't
have him do that.
No, he plays for the Colts.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Houston from last year.
Houston. Yeah.
I think he does.
He did. Yeah, I think. But he was the guy that lined up offside 2 years ago against the Patriots. I'll tell you another thing I was going to say too is, the Buccaneers. You got to give them a lot of credit. I mean, you brought up the fact that. In this year being so weird with no off-season activities, a different training camp, no preseason games, how they had to kind of gel with a new quarterback and Brady bringing in this new culture of winning to them and kind of getting them on the same page. And they ended up 11-5, right? They also went on the road to win 3 playoff games, okay? Now, the first one against the Redskins, the Washington football team, you could argue that, it was the Redskins who probably shouldn't have even been in the playoffs. Yeah. And the Buccaneers played their worst game that night of the three they played, but they still won on the road. Yeah. Then they went to New Orleans and beat the Saints, who had beaten them twice. And then they went to Green Bay and beat the Packers with Aaron Rodgers, okay? So there's something that has to be said for that, for the ability to go on the road 3 straight weeks in the playoffs and win. The Chiefs have been home for 3 years. I mean, they haven't played a playoff game on the road in this whole run, right? Yeah. So, and they struggled in a lot of those games. I mean, there's really not one that you can pick out to say, hey, they just dominated that game. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Maybe the AFC Championship Bills game. Would you say they dominated?
Maybe. I don't know that I'd say dominated.
Okay, maybe not dominated, but it was they were under control the whole game.
Yes.
It was never a doubt.
I will say this, though. Of course, it's hard for me to say this, but last year in the Super Bowl, they got behind and won, but that was Garoppolo. If they get behind by 10 points Sunday or more, they're in big trouble, I think, because they're not going to be able to do what they've been doing. They're going to have to come out and play this game solid from the start. And to go back to our discussion last week, they can't afford to leave points on the field, all right? Their kicker's got to make every field goal they try. He's got to make every extra point they try, because the Buccaneers will hurt you. I mean, they've got Tom Brady, and a very good team. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Leads us into our special teams comparison. I give the edge to the Chiefs a little bit.
Yes, I do. I do too. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you base that on? Like,
Okay.
on what? I'm not saying I disagree. I just like
I know.
how do you,
Well, I mean,
that
look.
one guy that number 85 that we don't really trust running.
Okay, well, that's
punts
the
back
thing,
from
right? I mean, if the Chiefs can put Tyreek Hill back there to return punts and kicks if they need to.
Again, he's a guy that I can see something bounce off his face mask.
I know, but he can make things happen.
Yeah.
I mean, kicking wise,
kicking wise, I mean, I think
have Butker or is that somebody?
Harrison Butker. The Buccaneers have a pretty good field goal kicker too, and I think more you have to look at. The Buccaneers have not done a very good job on kickoff coverage and punt coverage, and that's the key. Is when you let teams get, it doesn't sound like a lot, but if a team can start a drive on the 30 versus the 20, you've basically given them one first down, right?
we saw that in the Saints game, right? That guy there were a couple times ripped him for good returns.
That's right.
Well, that's a good point. I think I'm not saying that stuff's not important. I guess I haven't been paying attention to.
Well,
I didn't know that there was a thing.
I think you're looking at special teams from the return point, from your own team's return.
Oh, okay. Versus the coverage.
I'm looking at the coverage point of view.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, then, like you said, that's a good point because that's what happened against the Saints, right? They would have really had a lot better control in that game if the Saints didn't have those 2 returns early in the game.
Yes, that's exactly right.
And then, like Joseph said, if you can't cover too well, and then you have somebody like Tyreek Hill who could return kicks if they.
Right.
Does he always do that? Is it just Hardeman does typically, right? Is it just if they need him to?
I think.
He used to. Did he not return kicks though?
I thought he always returned punts, but lately you're right. Hardman's been doing it.
Yeah, I don't think they want him back there returning punts a lot, for obvious reasons.
Does he always return kicks though, or is he not? At one point, he was returning something a couple years ago. Last year, I don't know. But you could always do that in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, if I need a big return, I think I'd put him back there. Yeah. I mean, just like Giants used to put Odell Beckham back there, and I think the Browns did it a couple times.
Who's the Buccaneers kicker?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
I think of his name.
I can't think of his name right now.
Okay. But Butker is the Chiefs guy, right?
Yeah, Harrison Butker is the Chiefs guy.
Let me see here.
Should be pretty easy to find.
I should find pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Bucks kicker. Ryan Suckup.
Ryan Suckup, formerly of the Chiefs. He was with the Chiefs for a while. He was with the Titans.
Well, it says that Buccaneers signed. This is an article from September 1st. They signed Ryan Suckup. Is he still there?
I think he's still there.
Yeah, I think he is. Before we get to predictions, is there any way, no matter who wins, that either Brady or Mahomes don't win MVP? Like, what has to happen?
Yeah.
You think so?
I think Kelsey could win MVP.
Okay, all right.
Because they've already given it to Mahomes, too.
What I'm saying is, let's say Kelsey has 10 catches for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. Who threw him those 2 touchdowns?
Yeah, no, but I think for a tight end to have that type of stat line in the Super Bowl, they're going to give it to the tight end because that's something. It's not abnormal for a quarterback to throw 2 touchdowns and have a lot of yards. It's kind of abnormal for a tight end to have 150 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Let me put it this way: if the Buccaneers win the game, there's no doubt Brady will be the MVP because I think he has to be the MVP for them to win the game. On the other side of it, it's a crapshoot.
And I don't see one. If Brady, let's say Brady has a great stat line, I don't see one receiver or tight end on the Bucs getting the majority of that. I feel like he would be spreading.
That's true.
The Chiefs, I could see virtually all the production going to one of the guys. Maybe
I will say this though: it's either going to be Kelsey or Mahomes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Tyreek Hill, even if he has a great game,
I almost think that this is my opinion.
But I'm also based on the fact that they just gave it to Mahomes last year, didn't they?
Yes.
So they'd be more likely to give it to.
Just my opinion. I think there's a better chance of a defensive player winning it than somebody on offense other than the quarterbacks.
Really?
This is my opinion.
That's,
I mean, it has to be a defensive game where maybe Brady only throws 1 or no touchdowns. Same with Mahomes. Then let's say
could happen, yeah.
Like Jason Pierre-Paul gets some ball's tipped, he gets a pick, 2 or 3 sacks. I don't know.
I think you'd almost have to have a touchdown too.
Yeah.
That Seahawks linebacker won it in 2014, right?
Yeah,
he had a
safety, I think.
Yeah,
he had a touchdown. Did he have a pick?
I think,
interception for a touchdown too?
That was that was interesting.
I think you almost have to have a touchdown nowadays on defense.
What did Von Miller do? He won it for the Broncos.
He had a touchdown, did he not?
I'm not sure if he did or not, but I know he was pretty dominant.
You have to be in the end zone, either with the safety or a touchdown.
Yeah, I agree.
Let me see here.
Nathan looked it up, but
it's going to be hard for a defensive player to win it, I think.
Even though I agree that 20 tackles and two forced fumbles, that should do it for you, but I just doubt they have to do it.
Well, I agree with tackles are kind of meaningless.
It says here that he had 6 total tackles, 2.5 sacks, defending 1 pass, and forcing 2 fumbles. He didn't have anything more than that.
Yeah, I remember him stripping Cam Newton a couple times. I don't know if...
Maybe nobody on the offense did enough to really...
Well, Manning didn't really do anything.
Yeah, it says 2.5 sacks, including 2 game-changing strip sacks that forced that first set the tone that sealed the victory.
Yeah, that's probably the reason.
But again, that's because you really couldn't have warranted giving it to Manning that year because he didn't do anything.
No.
Yes, I don't think he didn't have anything that I thought he had. But
all right, so predictions. What do we think? We'll go around here.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, but the Seahawks guy, the Seahawks scored a lot of points that game, didn't they?
Yeah,
talking about the Broncos game.
Yeah, Super Bowl. What was it?
Yeah, the one in New York.
Super Bowl
2014, right?
Yeah.
Super Bowl 48.
2013 season in
Right.
January, February
48.
Yeah.
Let's see what that guy did. 9 tackles, fumble recovery, interception return for a touchdown.
That's it. Yeah.
The touchdown. Yeah.
But
They didn't give it to Russell Wilson.
No, because he was only the second-year quarterback. I think if that Super Bowl was played 4 years later,
they scored 43 points. Yeah.
Well, remember Harvin returned a kick for a touchdown. It wasn't all the offense.
Yeah, it wasn't all offense. Yeah. All right. Predictions. Who wants to go first? Matthew, you want to go first?
Okay. Let me think about it.
I feel like we're ordering at a restaurant. I'll come back to me.
Well, you picked the Chiefs. Did you pick the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl?
I was gonna,
I at the start of the year, I picked them to beat the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. So,
I picked them to beat somebody, I think.
But look, now that we're here and they're not playing the Cowboys, I'm going to pick the Buccaneers in this game.
Okay.
I think that, I think that they win 31-20.
Interesting.
I think it's going to be... I think the Buccaneers are going to win too. And I think it's going to be... 35-33.
Wow.
Interesting.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to win, and I think the reason I say that is I think the Chiefs are going to figure out some ways to get the ball in the end zone inside the red zone, and I think the reason I say that is because one of the problems with the Chiefs' offense is when you get inside the 20-yard line, it's very hard for them to do some of the things they do. That's why they do a lot of those shovel passes and crazy things. But I think they're going to figure out some ways, be it with Le'Veon Bell or somehow, to get in the end zone. And I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, kind of like the Packers-Buccaneers game, because you got two pretty prolific quarterbacks. I'm going to pick the Chiefs to win 35-31.
Okay. Right now, the Chiefs are favored by 3.
Okay.
This is a pretty standard line.
What's the over-under point total?
Good question.
I'll give you that here in just a second. It is 56.5.
Okay.
They always do good points, but I'd go over that.
Yeah.
Well, based on your score, you pick over. Yeah.
I think
under. Yeah.
Watch it. Obviously, who knows what's going to happen, but I think it's almost a no-brainer that both teams are going to have at least 30 points.
I think so too.
Come on.
I think so too. I think.
Wouldn't be surprising. Yeah. I can't say I'm gonna be surprised, but
I would be real surprised though if either team has less than 30 points.
Well, I guess I wouldn't be. I think the Chiefs will score 20, but we'll see.
I don't know.
I know this really doesn't matter, but look up for us. What week did the Chiefs and the Buccaneers play, and what was the score of that game?
That was the game that Hill had like 280 yards in the first half or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I
know they played, but I don't remember the game.
It was in Tampa. I know that. I think that was the game.
Was it a night game?
It's a late game.
4:25.
Let's see here.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it has to be a high-scoring game, and the reason I say that is I don't think your defenses are going to be able to shut down either team completely. You know what I mean? Unless the Buccaneers can run the ball. If they can run the ball very effectively, I think that could shorten the game and keep the point scoring down. But if they're not able to do that, I think it's going to be a shootout.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the Bucs score on this game.
That's fine. Whose backup quarterback do you trust the most?
Chad Henne.
Chad Henne over
Blaine Gabbert.
Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah. I think Chad Henne.
I mean, I don't think you're going to see either back
No,
quarterback.
hope
but
not.
I mean,
Yeah.
I
Let's see here.
All right.
Here's week 12.
Week 12, yeah.
okay.
So
So it was pretty recent.
Chiefs won 27-24.
Okay.
Yeah, they were up 17-0 after the first quarter. That might be what you were talking about, Joseph. I don't know, but you have the. What were you wondering about the? You wanted something about stats or?
Yeah, like give me the stat lines for some of the players.
Mahomes 37 of 49, 462 yards,
Wow.
3 touchdowns.
That was Hill had 13 for 269 and 3 touchdowns.
Hill did.
Yeah, Kelce had 8 for 82.
Yeah.
Rushing, Edwards-Helaire had 11 carries, 37 yards. Bell had 5 for 22, Mahomes 4 for 28. And then the Bucks.
Interesting.
Brady was 27 of 41, 345 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
Gronkowski 6 catches, 106 yards. Evans 3 catches, 50 yards, 2 touchdowns. Godwin had 8 catches, 97 yards. Ronald Jones the second, 9 carries, 66 yards. Fournette 3 for 10.
Okay.
Sacks. What's it mean? 2-6 for sacks. What's that mean?
2 sacks for 6 yards.
Oh, is that what it means?
Like yards lost, I guess.
Well, Mahomes was 2 for 6. Brady 1 for 3.
Yeah. Well, that tells me right there. I mean, Brady threw it 41 times. Mahomes threw it 49 times. I mean, I think you're going to see the same type of game.
I agree with that.
I mean, and you got to say if the Chiefs, it's going to be a high. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I mean, I just think that there's no way to get around it. I think the Chiefs defense lends itself to that, and I don't think the Buccaneers defense, no matter what they try, is going to be able to totally stop the Chiefs. You know,
I agree with that. The
So-
Chiefs defense lends itself to that. The Buccaneers defense, as good as it may be,
Yeah.
the Chiefs are just going to score a lot of points.
you're going to score a lot of points. I mean, that's just the way they are. You know, I mean, it's just
So we'll be eating humble pie if they score 20 points.
yes, we will. Yeah,
Joseph
we will.
will be right.
Yeah, Joseph will be right. That's right.
Right.
So it should be a great Super Bowl. I think it's going to be a really good game for all the reasons we mentioned earlier, and I'm excited to watch it. I think it's going to be a really good game.
Anything else ancillary you want to talk about? Commercials?
Yeah, that's you bring up a good point. I read where Budweiser has announced that this is the first time in like 30 years or something like that they're not going to have Super Bowl.
Really.
And then there was a couple other big name companies that said the same thing. So it's interesting that you're not going to see the same commercials that you've been seeing.
What did they cite? What was the reason they cited?
They didn't really. I didn't really read what the reason was. It just said
feel
they're
like-
sitting on the sidelines this year.
I feel like over the last few years, I feel like I've seen the Super Bowl commercials come up as an ad on YouTube over the
Beforehand,
weeks
right?
leading up to the
Yeah,
game.
That's dumb.
Yeah, I feel like this year I've already seen some ads that I feel like this would probably be a Super Bowl spot. It didn't say. Sometimes you can see the title of the spot. It didn't say like Super Bowl spot, but there was a Google one with a Nickelback. It was about like saving photos of Google Drive. It seemed like it was a Super Bowl commercial. I don't know. I don't like that. How they used to be. You would never see any of them until the game. Now I feel like they start putting them out there.
How about the
at least
halftime
online.
shows? We talked a little bit about that. This year they've got The Weeknd, whoever that guy is. I mean,
Nathan's a weekend aficionado.
Is he? Okay.
Somewhat.
I'm not an aficionado. I think he fits. I think it's a fine. I think he fits what they're going for halftime shows perfectly.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. I
mean,
agree.
I don't think it's an odd choice whatsoever.
yeah.
No, I agree with that.
I'd like to see
I think
a
there's
little
a
more.
lot. I think there's a lot worse people they could get too.
There are. There's a lot of better people.
There's
they could
obviously,
get too.
but
I like.
And I'm also glad. Sorry, real quick, I'm also glad they didn't try another like tandem thing like J Lo and Shakira. Like pick one.
Yeah.
The Weeknd. That's all you need. You don't pick J Lo or Shakira. You don't need both of them.
Yeah.
And I hope he doesn't bring on a whole bunch of guest appearances like sometimes they do too. Like people come on for a few minutes. Just one person.
We talked about Elton John and why he's never been on there, and I think he'd be a perfect.
That'd be
one
my
for Super
vote.
Bowl.
Elton John.
Sit the piano. And
Yeah, but we don't. I mean, maybe they've asked him. He doesn't want to do it, or who knows? You know,
Well,
I mean,
the hits
but,
you could play. Yeah.
but it'd be interesting. I think it's going to be a good game. I'm looking forward to it. The only thing I'm not excited about is the fact that Jim Nance will be there calling it. So I wish it wasn't on CBS.
But
not a big
does it not
Jim
make
Nance
up for that you get Tony Romo?
Get Tony Romo, and Tony Romo gives you that. Hey, let's talk about that a minute. You and I, the three of us have analyzed this sitting on Sunday afternoons, but I used to think Buck and Aikman were the best, but I'm starting, as I said, to roll over to Joseph's viewpoint that maybe Al Michaels and Collinsworth are the best. Maybe, maybe, but I think of the three analysts, Aikman, Collinsworth, Romo. Romo, sometimes he kind of steps over himself. He tries. Yeah. He's talking faster. He's thinking faster than he talks. Okay, but he gives you that high school exuberance. It's like he's really a fan. You know what I mean? Aikman's just like a drone. Yeah, Aikman's just like don't get me wrong.
I said that earlier, Joe. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, he gives good analysis. Yeah. I'm just saying he's like, okay, here we go, step 2. And Collinsworth is more just, hey, matter of fact, he's sitting in the living room with you, sipping on an iced tea or something, and just which is fine. I mean, he does a good job. But Romo gives you that, he's so excited about what's happening, and I like that.
I think he gives actual better analysis a lot of times too. Not that he has any insight that the other guys don't have, I don't think. Certainly Aikman, they both played at a high-level quarterback. Yeah. I mean, Collinsworth, I'm just saying he's a different position. But I feel like he just I feel like he looks for more ways, Romo, to give his personal experience input. I mean, like you can't do this because, you know what I mean? Where I feel like Aikman just he's just calling. He's not so much...
Another thing, too, Romo isn't far enough removed yet where he's played a lot against these guys.
I was going to make that point if you hadn't made it. That's right. I think that's it. He can give you better analysis because he's played against Brady. He knows what the Patriots did. He knows what the Chiefs tried. I mean, he knows a little bit about.
It does seem like he draws from that more often, which is probably why.
Which is going to hurt him down the road
eventually. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Well, I mean, it's further away from the NFL. Yeah, right.
I was going to say, do you remember when Aikman first started out? Was it the same thing, kind of, or?
I don't really remember.
I don't really remember. But Aikman, that's just not his personality.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean...
I used to think Aikman and Buck were the best, too. I used to like them the best as well. But I'm starting to think like you do. Over the last half of this year, they're not my favorite anymore. No. I don't think they're the best. I think regardless of what you think about Jim Nantz, I think Jim Nantz and Romo are the best.
Well, if you're looking at the two together, you may be right.
Think about when you listen to the game. I think they are the most just kind of like buttoned up, fine-tuned, entertaining to listen to. You know what I mean? I think they play off each other the best, probably.
I disagree with that. Go ahead. Finish your point.
Well, even though the other two teams that we're discussing here have been together for a long time too, they play off each other well too. But you disagree that
they play off each other. I think Michaels and Collinsworth are the best at that because true. I think Al Michaels is your typical play-by-play guy. He's not going to tell you any more than what's going on in the game.
That's a good point. I like that about him.
And I like that about him. He may interject a couple things here and there, but he pretty much plays off Collinsworth and lets Collinsworth do the analysis. Nance wants to be an analyst too.
I agree with that.
He wants to tell you, why this happened, or it looks like you should be holding on that play. That's not your job, okay? And Buck is somewhere in the middle. He's not as good as he's not as bad as Nance, but he's not as good as Al Michaels. So
you've convinced me. You've convinced me. You're right.
Now I'd like to see Al Michaels and Romo together. That would be an interesting combination.
Well, maybe. Well, Al Michaels
maybe not.
Al Michaels would be done before Collinsworth's done. I was going to say if Collinsworth.
I thought you were saying that next year NBC's got it, and there's talk that that's going to retire.
If you notice this year,
Michaels.
This year they made a deal. You notice that Al Michaels didn't do all the Sunday night games, okay? That because he's getting older and he needed. They actually said this that he didn't want to travel as much, so they worked it out where if they had a Thursday night, what was it?
He's like sneaky old, isn't he?
Yeah, he's pretty old, but. My point is, they gave him a couple breaks, okay? Especially if they had to go from one side of the country to the other.
But you think because he asked, not because they felt his talent was diminished.
Yeah, and I think they said that he's waiting one more year so that he can do the Super Bowl, and that'll be his swan song into retirement. So I think after this upcoming season, in 2022, you'll see a different Thursday night crew. Collinsworth may still be there.
It'll probably be Tirico and Collinsworth.
It could be Tirico and Collinsworth. That makes sense. Yeah,
but Michael's 76.
Yeah, he's.
But the more I do agree with you with that. Nance does do that too much, and sometimes it would be kind of awkward. Like Nance would try to be like, you know about that, Tony, or he'll It's just sometimes it's a little awkward between them, I guess. So I guess I can completely backtrack on the fact that I said they play off each other the best.
Well, Nance wants to be the center of attention, okay? And he doesn't like the fact that Romo knows so much. And he wants, this is my opinion. And he wants to be the center of attention. Joe Buck's got a little bit of that. Al Michaels doesn't. Al Michaels just is comfortable in his own skin calling the game. And, that's why I think him and Collinsworth do such a good job together, whereas Nance, I just don't like the guy. I mean, I don't think he does a very good job. Nance needs to stick to college basketball, the March Madness. I don't even like the way he calls golf, to be honest with you, and that's kind of his.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Anyway,
I just feel like it. Yeah.
we've gotten a little bit off track here, but I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, we'll leave it. Okay.
It's a good discussion.
I still think they're the best, but you make a good point that they don't play for each other the best, and Nance is probably not the best at what he does.
Yeah.
I think combined, taking into account, I think they're my favorite at least, I guess.
Okay. And I think we can all agree that the ESPN guys is kind of like the somebody doing a high school game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much.
They're
pretty much.
I do enjoy listening to the Sunday night guys. I just don't get too much because
Monday night.
It's so no the NBC back to Collinsworth. I just don't listen too much because
you're asleep.
I'm asleep.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. They are good.
Well, here's the
I'm not a huge fan of Collinsworth for some reason.
I'm not a huge fan of Collinsworth. I just think
no, I don't mean like him personally. I just mean like his style and listening to him. I'm not a big fan of it sometimes.
And I think too, we talked about this as well. That when I was growing up, of course, there was no Sunday night football. Monday night football was the thing. Yeah. I mean, everybody, you waited for Monday night. I mean, you had Cosell and Gifford. And what's his name? Frank Gifford, Howard Cosell, Don Meredith. I mean, that was it. Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football has died. It's not as what it used to be anymore. You know. And I wonder if the NFL cares about that or not, because to me, it needs some sort of injection of something to make it a better product.
Well, the NFL has control over that. Who they sell it to, right?
Yeah, I guess. But
they don't like the job ESPN's doing with the contract service. Say we're not going to.
That's true. We'll sell it to Amazon Prime. Before you know, you have to have a Prime membership to watch Monday Night Football.
That's going to happen eventually. You watch one of these things, like Thursday night, Sunday night. But you're not going to be able to watch every NFL game without a streaming service. Eventually.
Probably so. Yeah, eventually.
Collinsworth, I like Collinsworth. He's all right. I shouldn't.
You want to talk about?
Let's talk about quarterbacks real quick. Yeah, just real quick. Go ahead.
Quote Little Big League trade, big trade.
Big trade. Yeah. No, it was really kind of a shocking trade. We all heard that Matthew Stafford a few weeks ago mutually had agreed with the Lions to be traded. All right. And then we saw this blockbuster trade a few days ago where the Rams traded Jared Goff to the Lions for Matt Stafford. And of course, they traded 2 number 1 picks and a number 3 this year. The 2 number 1s would be next year and the year after. And the Lions agreed to take all of Goff's salary, which remember, that new contract doesn't kick in till this year. So that was a pretty big salary that the Rams had on their books.
Well, that was basically what one of the first round picks were for, I think.
Yes.
One of them was for Stafford. And one of them was here, please take his
money.
Please
take his money. We'll give you another pick. That's right.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it's a good trade for both teams.
Probably,
because maybe a little better for the Rams because now they've got a great defense. They've got a pretty good offense, and now they got a guy that we know can throw the ball around. So I think the Rams become a Super Bowl favorite next year. The Lions are going to rebuild. Yeah. And Goff could turn into be a really good quarterback.
Well, look, I mean, he was the first overall pick.
Yeah, he played pretty well.
26. He's got to a Super Bowl. I mean, it's not chopped liver.
Nothing
to sneeze at.
No.
My thing is, if you want to rebuild, in my mind, when I think of a team rebuilding, I don't think of them spending millions of dollars on a top quarterback. Just get some guy to hold you over until you're like near the end of the rebuild phase. Isn't this the guy to get like the Rams? Isn't Goff and Stafford both the type of guy to get if you're on the edge and you need a quarterback to get you over the hump?
Not necessarily. I mean, he's like I said, he's only 26 or something like that. And to give them credit, I said when we talked about Stafford, the Lions agreeing to part ways. Okay, you're getting rid of Stafford. What's your plan? Well, obviously they had a plan.
Right.
They're not going out and trying to sign some guy at the scrap heap.
But I guess my point is that's okay. What you said that you hope they didn't do, that's okay if you're trying to rebuild, isn't it? I mean, you don't need to have a top. Like, why can't you just go out and sign some guy? I'm not saying don't play that a quarterback. I'm just saying you don't need they're not expecting to win. It sounds like they're rebuilding.
Okay, what I'm saying is
so you don't need a star quarterback if you're not even expecting.
They
to win
got
games.
a first overall talent, all right, and then like I keep saying his age because he's young enough where you can give up 2 to 3 years or even 4 rebuilding, and he's still going to be in his prime.
That's true.
His age hell, yeah.
And I think we have to look at why have the Lions been so bad. I mean, they had Stafford. He threw the ball around quite a bit, had some prolific numbers. Yeah. But why were they so bad? It's probably poor decisions around the rest of the team, right? So to play off Joseph's point, now you bring a guy in there at court. In other words, you don't have to rebuild with a rookie quarterback, okay? You've got a guy in there that's proven he can do it. like Joseph said, even if you have to lose 3 or 4 years, he's only 30 years old, right? If you can keep him upright, that's the key. 30 years old, and now you start building the team around him, and you may be able to win in 3 or 4 years.
But you just brought up another point. They've had arguably better quarterback play than Goff has given them up to this point, and they can't win.
But they wanted the picks. They wanted the draft capital.
My point is, what makes you think? It's not like there's been like one, like generation, so to speak, of players that have come through Detroit that have been bad. It's like, what makes you think the organization is going to make good decisions with these picks or put good pieces around Goff? They've had a quarterback, and they couldn't do anything with him. Now they have another good quarterback. What makes you think they're going to be doing anything with him? It's almost like they need an...
Well, you're right. If this management group makes the same decisions that the last 5 have, you're right. But I think the thinking is, hey, if they think these are the guys to make the decisions and they make good personnel decisions with all these draft picks, they should be pretty good, right?
Yeah, I guess.
It comes down to you have to have a quarterback to win, and now they have one. So then you worry about the rest later, I think, right? I mean...
I guess, but it sounds like they're not really even trying. They said they were rebuilding. So that's my point.
They don't have to worry about the quarterback. They can rebuild in other areas.
Yeah, they don't have to worry about rebuilding around a rookie quarterback. You know, like the Jets were trying to do, or some team like that. You know, I mean, it's hard to do.
I guess we were coming at it from different philosophy. I guess I was thinking, get your team great with a serviceable quarterback, and then when your team's great, get your big quarterback. Not a rookie, but like your big quarterback.
Yeah.
I guess you got to say, get your big quarterback. Have him sit there, and which you need a younger one to do that with, like you said, which Goff is, I guess.
And then real quick, what happens to Deshaun Watson? I mean, you know, the Texans have said, we're not trading him. But you know that's just a smokescreen right now. They're going to have to trade him. He's burned enough bridges where I think they're going to have to trade him.
Yeah.
So, and I read an article that this Goff Stafford trade actually hurts Deshaun Watson, because even though what you said is right, that the second number 1 pick was to tell the Lions, please take Goff's contract, in the eyes of an agent, they're going to say, hey, wait a minute now. Yeah. You know, they gave the Lions 2 number 1 picks. Deshaun Watson's way better than Goff.
Well, the Texans are going to want 2 number 1 picks.
Right.
We've talked about this though. Yes, they're going to throw that out there, but the other side is going to say no. They gave them that to take the money, and then at the end of the day, the Texans are going to realize that's true, and they're going to have to accept what they accept.
I think somebody will give them 2. Somebody will out there eventually.
People are going to bring that to the table, agents, the team, but they know in the back of their minds that's not true. The people they're negotiating with knows that. So when the people they're negotiating with turns it down, the teams are going to have no choice but to go with.
They'll get it eventually.
But I think Joseph makes a good point. I think as we go further into this thing, like into March and April, somebody will give him.
They'll talk themselves into it. Watson's a franchise quarterback. We got to do it.
Yeah. I think somebody. You know, I mean, what about the Jets? You know, that wouldn't be a bad move for the Jets, really. I mean,
Washington.
The Washington would be another good move. You know, I mean, the Jets have good talent. I mean, they just had a poor coach and a quarterback that wasn't ready to play.
I guess poor coach, maybe.
Well, let's face it, coaching does make a difference.
No, but I'm saying, like, some of the coaches in there this year, they're a lot better than the Jets. I mean, they almost went 0-16.
Well, I don't know that they hired the right coach now. I'm just saying that you know,
Gase had to go.
I'm not saying they have to go, but I'm saying the coach they hired now, put him in there last season. Are they that much better?
No.
I mean, I think a coach can attribute to some losses, but 14 losses, however many they lost.
Yeah, you make a good point.
We'll see.
I'm just saying. Look, the Jets are going to win 4 games next year, probably. All right.
well, we can have a really serious discussion about this right around draft time, which I think will be a good time to have it, especially when we start seeing. There's some trades that are going to come down, and once free agency starts in March, there'll be some. We'll be able to better tell what teams are trying to do and what they're not trying to do.
The Jets can be. I think of the bad teams, the Jets could be good, the quickest maybe of all the teams. I just think next year they're not. I don't know.
They probably won't be next year. Yeah, right. Especially if they go into it with the same situation they have now with quarterback. I mean, I think Sam Darnold. You know, I think that was a mistake taking Sam Darnold, and I think Josh Allen was the best quarterback to come out of that class, regardless of what anybody says. And then, you know, I mean, that's just the way it is. Yeah. So anyway. All right, so that wraps up episode number 70, the Sam Huff episode. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Remember to tweet at us at PressBoxPod. We'd like to get your thoughts and comments on the Super Bowl coming up. And then we'll be back next week with a recap of the Super Bowl. And then we'll be moving on to other sports. As the NFL kind of gets it. We'll always talk NFL because, like I said, we've got draft, we've got free agency, we've got all that stuff, and hopefully this will be a more normal year with off-season activities, and next year will be a better year. So that's going to do it for the Press Box Podcast, episode number 70.